Hello and welcome to this episode of I Don't Know Jack About Parenting. Episode 300 is thank you and goodbye for now. And I'm excited to share my thoughts one last time.
So the big question is this: how are parents like us, who don't have a manual, who are doing the best we can, who feel as though we aren't enough, how are we going to raise healthy, happy children who we are proud of and still keep our sanity in that process? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Ryan Roy, and welcome to I Don't Know Jack About Parenting, a podcast for parents who are being real with themselves.
Hello and welcome back to this episode of I Don't Know Jack About Parenting. This is the final episode. I've graduated from not knowing Jack to knowing just a little enough to find some experts that I could empower you with on the next podcast, FBI Dads. That stands for Fathers Being Involved, the podcast, where I'll be interviewing all kinds of people. So I'm going to give you a little glimpse into some thoughts around FBI dads here on this episode. But before I do that, I just want to shoot some huge acknowledgments out to some people, namely you, the audience, right? You drove this thing. You allowed me the ability in a space to think my thoughts out, interview some amazing people, and be accountable to an audience of people who are trying to better themselves as parents. So I just want to thank every single one of you, every person who ever listened to even one episode. But for those of you who are longtime followers who listen to this over the last couple of years, thank you for your continued support. It means the world to me, and I hope you join me over on the FBI Dads podcast. It isn't just for fathers, right? It's for mothers who understand the importance. It's for fathers. It's for grandfathers, uncles, aunts, sisters, anyone who understands the importance of community and the role of everybody in children's lives, not just the father. And anybody could benefit from who I'm going to be interviewing and what's going on in that. To be honest with you, as I think that out loud, like one of the benefits, I hope, I really do, if it saves one marriage that wants to fight because they know they could do it alone, but they know it's not worth it, and they work through their challenges because they know having both parents in the house is beneficial. As long as it ends up being a healthy resolution, I hope it saves one marriage. I hope it saves a lot of kids from parents who have disagreements that don't come to conclusions, that they understand like they're only damaging their children, their offspring, to get to the next, in order for kids to have success in life. I believe, listen, true success, I think the statistics prove that having a father has a greater chance of that happening. I'm on the other end of those statistics. I like to consider myself successful in the way I define success. And when I look at statistics of fatherless children, I have defied most of those statistics. And I'm glad I'm on that end of the statistical spectrum. However, so many people fall short of it because they don't have that support. So I hope that the FBI dads in those interviews on that podcast are going to benefit some people. Another person I want to thank, or people I guess I should say, are my children, Jaden and Christian. The two of them are my inspiration. They are my everything. They're the reason I talk about parenting, right? I wouldn't be a parent without those two. And they have taught me so much about life and about myself, and I hope I can continue to pour into them through my life experience and empower them in so many ways. I want to thank my wife, Lisa, who without her, I wouldn't be a father. She carried both of those boys to full terms. She is an amazing mom. She is an amazing partner. And I just, so much of the things that I do, I would not be able to do without her support, as she allows me, I have to say, she allows me to do all the craziness that I do, to be the dad that I am and the dad that I wish I had. Charles Woolsey, thank you so much for your consistency, your way of showing up, your tenacity, your willingness to support me in this journey. Because for those of you who don't know, putting together a podcast, I often say I do the easy part. I come up with the ideas, but that's the easy part for me. The part that's not so easy is the technical side. And Charles edits these. He breaks them down. He gives you guys the timelines that I post on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. He's the one who makes sure I sound good. He's built and refined and edited and created the intros and outros for this. So without you, none of this happens, because I love to talk, but I have to say my strength is not technology. So Charles, a huge shout out to you, and I look forward to continued work with you in the FBI Dads podcast, and we're going to take that thing to the moon and back. So guys, strap on, strap in, because that is going to be a blast. There's so many people that I interviewed, or people that gave me ideas, that there aren't enough, there isn't enough time, and nor do you guys want to listen to all that. But every teacher, administrator, PTA member, FBI Dad's dad, all my coaching clients, all the people who are an accumulation of what makes me me and allow me to teach, which is the best way to learn. When you teach others, it reinforces some of your principles. So because I'm able to teach on a daily basis professionally and coach people, it reiterates what I believe to be true, to strengthen my own life, strengthen my values, and exercise my values. So everybody who's a part of my life really plays a role in this podcast, because through my experiences, I share my thoughts on this podcast, and I'll probably continue to do so on the FBI Dads podcast. So thank you to everybody who I've ever mentioned in this thing, and everybody who just comes across my path, because I'm sure there's a lesson that you've been a part of indirectly, whether you know it or not. So FBI Dads, the podcast. I just want to share with you the FBI Dads program that I run at my son's school. Fathers being involved. It started with 6 dads on a stage one day a couple years ago, and it grew into last year, pre-COVID, into an average of 155 dads at an event 6 times a year. Dads showing up to beautify the school, to pressure wash, to build sanitation stations. This year it's morphed into a virtual setting, and in this virtual world where a lot of other things have become the priority, it still goes strong. And I just hosted a dad's breakfast just yesterday. And one of the things I do at these breakfasts, and I'll give you an insight into what a breakfast looks like. I go in there, we pump them up, whether it's on camera from a Zoom setting, or whether it is in a live event. We pump these kids up and we get them involved. We ask engaging questions where the kids want to answer. We get them riled up and ask them to go a little crazy and get a little loud. They get a little loud. There's a competition between the dads and the kids who could be the loudest, and it gets their attention and gets them involved. After we do that, I always acknowledge everybody, just like I acknowledge you guys here on this last episode of I Don't Know Jack About Parenting. We always acknowledge people because people want to feel appreciated. So I acknowledge the people who have made the program a success, whether that's the PTA, the administration, the volunteers, the cafeteria workers, the people who helped me in the tech aspect on the Zoom, which was my son on this last one. He did such a phenomenal job. And then we get into the lesson. And yesterday was gratitude, and I'm in so much gratitude for this podcast, as I know it was a stepping stone into something much bigger. So we talk about what we're grateful for. We let the kids define that. Actually, before that, we get into dads completing a sentence. I ask them to look their kids face to face, eye to eye, across from each other, and I want them to really tell their kids and finish this sentence. And the sentence is, I am proud of you because. I say it all the time. I don't do it in a dad's breakfast. I do it when I coach my clients sometimes. I do it when I'm talking to friends and family. I think there's 3 things every parent, not just dads, should say to kids each and every single day. I think they should tell them, I love you, both verbally and non-verbally, and we talked about that in the last episode. Do it through your actions, not just your words. I think they should tell them that they believe in them, either through their actions and or their words every single day. Like if a kid's like, oh, Dad, I can't do that. I believe you can. And allow them the space to grow into that. And then the last thing is you should tell them you're proud of them. And that's the sentence that gets ended. I am proud of you because. What I shared with my son, and I'll give you an example. I always mute it when I'm there, when I'm on a Zoom. And if I'm in a live, I always turn off the microphone, and my son's usually there on stage with me, and I share that moment with him there in that moment as all the other dads are doing it with their kids. And what I shared with him just yesterday in this last dad's breakfast was this. 1, you just had an amazing baseball season where you guys had to fight through some adversity, and you guys had to fight through some adversity in this last game, and you and your teammates banded together in a high pressure situation as they won the game going into the playoffs, going into the championship game by 1 run in extra innings. I said, and through it all, you boys were laughing, you guys were supporting each other, you guys were loving on each other, and when it all came together, because you guys were doing the right thing, you guys won. And I'm proud of how you acted throughout the process, not necessarily the result. And on the second note, I want to tell you I'm so proud of you because your report card came out last week and you had all A's and a couple B's. And it just shows that hard work pays off, and that your consistency in showing up and doing your work pays off dividends. And Dad's so proud that you always play at 100%. And then we get back into it, and we get the lesson on gratitude. And I started asking the kids, what is gratitude? What does that look like for you? What are you grateful for? And we showed them a video where another girl came up with 10 things, and the kids started saying, I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my parents. I'm grateful for my house. I did not hear one kid say, I'm grateful that I got a Nintendo game Switch, or I got an Xbox 3, or I got the biggest Barbie house. These are kids. They're intuitive. They know what's important in life. We need to allow them to express that more. Then I have the dads and the kids answer questions. Dad, what are you grateful for? And the kids and the kids ask the dads. And the dads then ask the kids. And magic happens because they have a conversation around something that's really important. And what I have the dads do after that proud moment is take a selfie, and they always email it to me. And I get the most amazing pictures of dads and daughters and dads and little boys. And these pictures express a bazillion words. And the joy. So as I get these, I try to respond to every email as a lot of these come in, and I just said to one dad, I said, hey man, I love this picture. I want you to tell your son that I said thank you for being so engaged in this morning's breakfast, as he answered a lot of the questions. He's a kindergartner, right? And he said, hey, I want to thank you for doing this program. Because what I do with those selfies is I actually print them out and I send them over to school. And there's a bulletin board of all the dads and all the kids and all the smiles and all those pictures that get sent to me. And it's called our FBI Dads Bulletin Board. And I have been in the school and I've watched kids literally stop and say, look, that's my dad. Or look what my dad said about me, when they write down their pride moment. And he said, you know, thank you for doing this program. My son saw our picture in the school the other day, and it made him feel so special. See, what I do in FBI Dads, and what my goal is that there's a stronger connection and interaction between father and child. Society has told us as men that we're supposed to go make the money. Society and commercials today and media tell us that, hey, we're just a lump on a log. Like, we don't know how to feed our kids. We don't know how to change a diaper. If there's a crisis, we are in crisis mode. We're looking for mom. Like, we can't handle being a dad. And that is such a false narrative that has been put in today's media, social media, and just society as a whole. When I came to the school and I said I wanted to improve this dad's program, I was responded by, dads just don't get involved. And if that's the belief of the system, they don't create a space for it. And FBI Dads has created an amazing space at our school, and the plan is to do it in many schools, because dads do want to be involved, and I've proved it. So it's that dad who says thank you for having the program. It's that dad who sends me something and says, I don't know, I think this is your intention, but I want you to know I have a better relationship with my daughters because of this program. I'm more intentional because I've seen the power of those breakfasts. When I do what seems to be a silly art project, and I send it and I get pictures back, and they're like, this is what we did. I know dads are taking time to interact with their kids in a more meaningful way. There's nothing wrong with what I'm about to say, but I find all the dads on the baseball field. I find them all on the soccer field. I find them all at the karate school. I find them all in these very physical sporting events. But when it comes to saying I love you, I believe in you, I think a lot of dads are falling short. And it's only because I think society, there's a perceived weakness for a dad who says, I love you, when in actuality, there's a ton of strength. And FBI Dads, the podcast, is going to talk about that. FBI Dads, the program, is going to plant seeds for a generation and generations to come, for dads to really interact and love on their kids and be involved. I do know a lot about parenting. I do know a lot about being a father. I know a lot about being fatherless. And I know, because I've experienced, we only truly know what we experience. I know that having a father involved is way better for our society than having fathers who are uninvolved. And if that starts with a simple, I'm proud of you because, if it starts with a simple, having a breakfast with a donut and a simple interaction, I will plant that mustard seed and I will water that for other dads for as long as I possibly can. And I don't plan on checking out anytime soon. So join me in FBI Dads, the podcast, because it's important. I love you guys. Thank you so much for this amazing journey of 300 episodes. And I so look forward to sharing my wisdom and other people's wisdom in the parenting and education roles of those who I'm going to interview. I'll see you on FBI Dads, the podcast.
Do you want to be the dad you wish you had? If so, go get my free book, Be the Dad You Wish You Had, at BeTheDadYouWishYouHad.com. Inside, you'll find my most effective 40 tips to quickly and easily transform yourself into the ideal dad. Go to BeTheDadYouWishYouHad.com now and get it while it's free.